This is the approach to Mtamira Gate at Selous in southern Tanzania. We're just about to touch down, and it's a pleasant afternoon in late June. After landing, we were quickly transferred to the boat dock for a short ride down the river to Selous Impala camp. On the way to the camp, we stopped to look at the resident colony of white-fronted bee-eaters, which excavate nest holes in the exposed sandy banks of the river. We also spotted a pied kingfisher nesting here. These colonies are constantly menaced by Nile monitors. They have long sharp claws, which make it very easy for them to climb the cliff, get into the nest holes and take the eggs and the chicks, despite the best attempts of the parents to dive bomb them. It's a lovely evening at the end of June, and the rains have almost finished for the year. The river's carrying a lot of water, a lot more than it does in September, and it's flowing a bit quicker as well. You can see hippos all along the river, but they do tend to congregate in the quieter stretches at the moment. So the next morning we were out early to see what we could find, and the first thing we came across was a couple of warthogs. Warthogs are omnivores, and they'll eat grass, fruits, roots, berries, insects, eggs, and even carrion. And you can't go far without seeing some impala, or swalapala as they're called in Swahili. These are southern ground hornbills. They can weigh up to about 6 kilos, and they live in family groups of 5 to 10. And yes, they can definitely fly. The family defends a territory of around 100 square kilometres, and they use contact calls to keep in touch, which can be heard up to 3 kilometres away. This is a Mozambique wildebeest. Looks like a bull, out all on his own. There are only around 20 to 30,000 lions left in the wild. Selous is thought to have a population of around 3,000. That is quite a decent gene pool. Many of the other lions live in small, isolated, fragmented groups, and the long-term prognosis for them is pretty poor. It was nice to see them doing their bit to increase the population, and especially here because with 54,000 square kilometres of area to live in, there's plenty of room for them to establish a pride. The pair can carry on mating roughly every 20 minutes for about 3 days. Even within Selous, lions aren't safe, because Selous is a game reserve, not a national park. and almost 90% of it is actually set aside as hunting areas, which means that they're hunted for sport. Hunting and phototourism generated about $2.2 billion in 2015. Hunting accounted for about 3% of this. An animal can be photographed hundreds of times, but killed only once. So why is so much of the reserve set aside for trophy hunting, which has little or no conservation value? It must have been our lucky day for lions. This lioness was on her own, just resting up in some bushes near a waterhole. The buffalo's obviously feeling a bit shy. Here we can just about see an oxpecker cleaning a giraffe. Selous is well known for its high density of Maasai giraffe. Selous is also well known for its large numbers of greater kudu, but today they just don't want to hang about and be photographed. Back on the river, and there's always plenty to see in the form of crocodiles, hippos, and loads of different birds. This little island on one of the lakes is used as a communal nest site by all sorts of storks, herons, ibises, spoonbills and darters. They're all there. There was a large number of open-billed storks. These are sacred ibises. This is an African darter trying to cope with a couple of very hungry chicks. And here's the spoonbill doing a balancing act, trying to feed its chicks. It looks like the pied kingfisher has got his breakfast well sorted. This is a huge Verreaux's eagle owl, easily identified by its pink eyelids. Even though the rains are not quite over, you can see how far the shoreline of this lake has already receded. At this time of year, big pods of hippos like to congregate in the lakes to get away from the main flow of the river, which is still pretty well up. Are they just playing or are they just sex?
Very soon they will start mating.
Yeah.
They start mating beginning of
They're just getting warmed up. The battler is named after the way its wings tilt from side to side as it flies, rather like you'd see a tightrope walker balancing a pole. This is a family of common waterbuck. They have a distinctive white bullseye on their rumps, which was put there to make an easy target for the lions to home in on. It was nice to take a break from being bounced around in the Land Rover and stop for a nice bush breakfast. We managed to get the back wheel stuck in a very deep rut, but with the help of the jack and a few pieces of old timber that were lying around, Gerard got us up and going again within about a few minutes.
Yeah.
Now I need to put something under it. As I understand it, this is a brindled gnu, but it's the Mozambique subspecies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
Johnston
know, brindled from the stripes.
Yeah. After days of looking, we finally came upon a small family of elephants. Tanzania has suffered enormously from ivory poaching since about 2008, after the last so-called one-off ivory sale to China and Japan. It was said that the sale would decrease demand for ivory, but it only served to stimulate the market, and the price of ivory soared. The number of cases of poaching exploded. The rangers were outgunned and outnumbered, ill-equipped, poorly paid. They were demoralised and no match for the heavily armed poachers who were organised in military fashion. Parts of the park became no-go areas. Many rangers have given their lives trying to protect the wildlife. Each one of them is a hero. It was apparent that there must have been a high level of corruption and collusion from the highest levels of government and down for poaching operations to succeed on this scale for so long. In 2013, the then Minister of Natural Resources, Kamis Kagashegi, produced a report for the President, naming names of those involved. The report was buried, and to this day nobody has been investigated. In 2009, the country's elephant population was estimated at 109,000. When a census was held in late 2013, the population had crashed to just 43,000. The reason was the systematic slaughter of Tanzania's huge elephant herds, mostly in Selous and Ruaha.
They are more softer, and they used to come out in the male when they are 3 years old. Then you can see smoke coming out. And the female is 2.5.
The government only came out of denial after these shocking figures were published. Slowly, they have started to tackle the problem. Hundreds of new rangers have been recruited. There have been some changes to the management of the parks and reserves. For instance, the Selous budget has been increased by 40%. Rangers are now managing more patrols, covering more areas of the park more frequently. In 2015, after another count, the population of elephants in Selous stood at around 15,000, but that's down from 70,000 in 2009. It's said that the poaching situation in Selous has now stabilised, whatever that means.
Everyone is safe. Okay. Even the safety number they have, she count if one is missing.
She calls
That's why she's still calling. She knows that one is missing. Yeah, that's why you hear a lot of sound.
There's only 5 of them.
So once she will be like 55 years, then they change. Because if you are very old, you lose memory. Yeah. And she choose another who is the second oldest, she take over.
So.
The land is perfect there.
It's pretty good. One of the knock-on effects of all this poaching, especially of the big old boys with the big tusks, is it seems to be selecting for elephants to be born that either only develop small tusks or remain tuskless throughout their lives. You can see a few here. It must be our lucky day because the second elephant family's turned up. Oh, that's the missing one. That's number 6.
Two families.
So the behaviour here is so different to Rihanna.
What struck me was that none of them were carrying a decent set of ivory. They must be very young. The fact is that if you want to see a big pair of elephant's tusks these days, the place to go and look for it are the shops in Hong Kong and China.
Another one over there.
Remember, Selous is the size of Belgium, so a lot of the poaching takes place a long way to the south of the photographic area. You're very unlikely to be directly affected, so if you are considering going, then please do. It's quite safe, and the revenue you generate will help in the fight against the poachers. Poaching is still rampant through much of East and Central Africa. Figures suggest we're still losing somewhere between 20 and 30,000 animals a year. Countries like Japan and China have to stop the trade. The rest of us have to keep telling them to do so. If we don't insist on a global ban on the ivory trade, the African elephant will soon go extinct in the wild. It's as simple as that.